What's going on, guys? We are back. We did the top 5 most improved players last time of the World Championship. I'm going to go with the top 5 most disappointing players at the World Championship for this video. Before we get into it, pause the video. Put in the comments below. Let me know who you thought should have done maybe a little bit better here at the World Championship. And we'll see if we have the same list. While you're down there, I guess like and subscribe. I think that helps. I don't know. YouTube algorithms. Anyway, let's get into it again. It's going to be talkathon. I'm not going to go any too crazy here, but I want to start with number 5, and I think I'm going to start with Yan. I'm going to put him at number 5. He, to me, eye test wise, wasn't that big impactful player that we expect from him at times when he goes to these World Championship events or just majors and all of that. And then I went back through and I looked at his numbers as well from the past 2 majors, and his numbers drastically decreased. Major 1, he was goals plus assists per game, so just involved in goals. 1.56 at Major 1. Major 2, 1.25 of the same category. At the World Championship, 0.84. Now, I think World Championship scoring overall was down a bit, but still, Yan is one of those players that I feel like Furia needs to pop off in order to be one of those top 4 teams in the world, and it just felt like he was a little bit invisible most of the time throughout this event, at least while I was watching. It felt that way, not as impactful. We talked about Lost in the previous video where I thought he was pretty impactful outside of a couple defensive mistakes. I feel like Yan didn't really get to see him a lot throughout this event really pull off those Yan moves, so he comes in at number 5. Number 4, I'll say Alpha. So I have a couple people here on this list, and then yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Number 4, we'll go with Alpha. So Alpha, kind of the same thing. I feel like Vitality, like very likely, like this video is not going to go out for like 5 days or so. I'm recording this on a Thursday. It's going to go out next Monday. Who knows? By that point, Vitality might have already imploded, right? But really, Vitality is the Zen show, but you need some support with it. Alpha is generally a pretty good support player with Zen, doing what he needs to do. But this event, it felt like I saw Rado make some nice plays here or there. Zen obviously was doing Zen things, but Alpha, I was like, where's this guy in the field? I barely saw him. It didn't feel like he had much of an impact, and maybe that's why Vitality went out early. Once again, I kind of did this by eye test, and then I went back through and just looked at their numbers to see how it all panned out. Like, I don't necessarily just take whoever had high goals plus assists, and then if they had low goals plus assists at Worlds. It was more eye test first, and then I look up their numbers. So for Alpha, it was the same exact thing as Yan for the most part. Major 1, sitting at 1.07 goals plus assists per game. Major 2, 1.24 goals plus assists, so he got even better. At the World Championship, 0.73 goals plus assists per game. And I know offense isn't everything. I know the numbers aren't everything. But when you go from the eye test and then you look at the numbers and you see that drastic decline, you can really see how the tale is told on paper and how it is told on the field as well. So Alpha, not the greatest event for sure. Vitality, I assume is going to be imploded. Maybe we'll do a more in-depth roster move video next week, but I'm going to wait till, like, I'll record that the day of, because there'll probably be a lot of roster stuff that happens before that. So we'll do that next week, maybe mid next week, and I can give you my thoughts on how I think this is all going to go down. So 0.73, that ain't going to cut it. So Alpha, you get number 4. Number 2 and 3, I'm going to put these two together. I'm going to put Chronic at number 3, First Killer at number 2. I feel like GenG had a miserable event. I feel like Abjack had some moments. He was actually, I think, like a top 5 scorer at this event, but Chronic and FK really didn't do a whole lot. First Killer goes to number 2 more so because of what he's supposed to do or what it feels like he should do on that squad, where like he's going to put up numbers. That's what he's done his entire career. He did not do so. Chronic gets number 3 because I don't think he's expected to do as much. But I don't think Chronic had a good event either. Really quick, again, let's run through their numbers. Their numbers were lower than previously. but they weren't as bad. But I think it was more of lack of competition for GenG, where they had easier opponents. They scored a lot at times, but they still lost those games, right? So we have Chronic was at 0.94 goals plus assists at Worlds. He was at 1.1 and then 1 between Major 1 and Major 2. So just a slight decrease. Same with First Killer. GenG did better at Major 1 with 1.34 for First Killer, then 1.15 at Major 2, and then finally 1.13 for First Killer here at the World Championship. Not as big of a drastic change in numbers as the last two players, but the results I feel like were much worse. And also, like, they did put up some goals, but their defense was just miserable. And yeah, it just was not a good event for GenG. So I wanted to just bring those up really quick. And then the number one result, it's actually a three-way tie. Most disappointing players was the entire TRCast roster. Boys, Rizzo, CJ, and Johnny Boy. And you know what? I'm going to take Johnny Boy off that list. Johnny Boy did all right, except for turning upfield on that kickoff. Johnny Boy, what are you doing? What are you doing? They lost on a kickoff in overtime. They gave up a 0-second goal. Rizzo said he has barely played recently. You could tell on the field. You could tell. Sorry, Rizzo, but you could. And CJ, you're supposed to be the carry. You're supposed to be the carry, and I saw nothing. I saw nothing. It felt like classic OCE. Like, that was probably the furthest he's been at a major event in a very long time. Almost made it to the final day championship, the final championship day. The day before, I think CJ just doesn't understand how to play on a Saturday. Probably used to be being eliminated on Fridays or even like earlier in tournaments. So, pretty miserable performance all around. I'll give Johnny Boy a little bit of slack, but you know what? I'm putting him back on the list because he turned upfield on kickoff. He complains about that every single time with pros, and I'm always been on the opposite side. I've always been there where I'm like, nah, they're turning upfield because they want the pressure. They want to earn possession. Probably more goals are scored because he turned upfield than they give up. And then Johnny Boy going up, like, against his own words, turns upfield, gives up a kickoff goal. Like, what are you doing, bud? What are you doing? Then they lose on a kickoff as well. Like, guys, come on. Come on. Disappointing. And, well, let me know your most disappointing players down below. Again, generally I had 5, with both Chronic and FK making the list. I'm sorry, 4. Yan and Alpha. And then the entire TRCast team. Yes, I know it was only a best of 3. They were planning for a best of 5, reverse sweep, but you got to change your game plan, man. You got to change your game plan. When the other team breaks stuff, you got to change it. I hope you enjoyed that cast as well. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed my cast in the First Touch and TRCast game. And we'll be back with some more roster-y talk next week, or I guess in 2 days from when this is shown. We'll try and put out a video then. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.